Just like the first Shazam movie, and to be honest, a lot of the other DC movies that have come out recently, this one was just fine for me. It was an enjoyable enough experience, and a solid comic book movie, but there wasn't anything that stood out to me that really connected with me or made me want to come back to it again. A lot of the humor didn't land for me, and with the main cast being teenagers, there were just some awkward moments that made me want to fast forward. I don't have the same attachment to these characters in this universe as I do with Marvel, so that may be a part of it, but I don't really understand how this is supposed to fit into the larger universe in terms of the timeline and where all of these other heroes are at instead of helping here. And because I don't have the same attachment, I definitely noticed me having some critiques during the movie that I probably would have let slide in an MCU movie. I'm just harder here because I don't have any emotional connection to these characters that I care about more than the quality of the story here. But going more in depth into the movie, it focuses a lot more on the family as a whole compared to the first movie, at least from what I remember. All of the siblings have more time on screen, and the parents even get in on the action at the end. Some obviously had more to do than others, but for the most part, a lot of these sibling interactions were hit and miss for me. Some felt like they could have been left out and I wouldn't have missed anything. Others, it felt like it showed a lot of what these people are like as individuals, and how they expressed that part of themselves around others, since we don't really see these characters interact with anyone other than family members. I like the dynamic between Billy and Mary, with them being the two oldest foster children, and her being the only other person older than him that he can look to consistently for advice. But in my opinion, I think Freddy was just as much of a focus in this one as Billy, although I'm not sure if I preferred one over the other. He had a lot to do involving Anthea, and he had some moments throughout that showed his inner strength from his heart and mind, and not necessarily his body. None of the other siblings really stuck with me, but they all had a moment or two that at least made me care about their safety to some extent. Billy still had the most development throughout the story, and while some of it was on the nose, it did focus on some good concepts, like him finally accepting his family and moving past the fear that they'd leave him to. I just really didn't like the way his story was finished off in the movie. He grew as a person to the point where he was willing to sacrifice himself to save everyone, and then they bring him back. I get how he probably has a larger story down the line in this expanded universe, but it felt like it undermined his entire arc throughout the movie, and it completely wiped away any emotional impact the story had on me. It may not be entirely comic accurate, but I would have wanted to rather see the siblings take up the mantle from him, and make it about really being a team, rather than a hierarchy of individual superheroes doing their own thing. And then in the post-credit scene, where he's recruited to the Justice Society, that version of the character feels like who we had at the beginning of the movie, not the same character who had grown and progressed to the point where he was ready to sacrifice himself. The ending just really upset me. And then the entire Wonder Woman sequence felt unnecessary. I get that he is a weird thing for her, but it seemed like a pointless cameo that doesn't set anything up. I think if they wanted to restore that realm, there could have been a better way to do it than bring in her. But maybe I'm wrong, and this will somehow connect to her solo film down the line. I guess it's too early for me to write anything off. But to wrap this up, action was solid. I enjoyed the greater focus on Greek mythology. I've always been big on that stuff. And the villains were alright in my opinion. Hespera was good. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Anthea. And Calypso was kinda just the big bad who, even though she had some motive for her actions, still just felt like a villain that wanted to destroy everything for the fun of it. Which I guess she kind of was. Let me know what you thought of Shazam 2 if you've watched it for yourself, and where it ranks among your favorite DC films. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more movie reviews, and follow me on my various platforms all listed in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.